We built BTWB to support independent gyms. These gym owners have unique journeys that led them to create incredible communities in their towns or cities all around the world. Spotlight is going to help tell these stories and celebrate these people. All right, Kevin, man, thanks for joining me today.
It's great to be here. It's a pleasure. As I was saying just before we started, then it's watching the varied and not random podcasts, obviously, and then seeing you reach out is like one of those moments to be like, oh, that's cool. Like it's a podcast I've watched so many people and listened to so many ideas, and obviously applied some of the those ideas as well. So it's really nice to be on something similar.
That makes me happy. I mean, if people are actually enjoying some of the ramblings that Boz and I do, that makes me happy. So I'm located on the west coast of the US. Where are you located, and what's the name of your gym?
Yeah, so I'm in the UK in a city called Leeds, which not many people know Leeds as such, but most people will know it's next to Manchester, which is about
Okay.
it's about an hour from Manchester. All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, I know Manchester." So yeah, so it's in the north of England, and my gym is just in a small town just outside of Leeds. It's called Fit2Thrive.
Okay. And does your area deserve maybe the reputation it has for not having great weather, or does it have beautiful weather?
Well, I mean, that's just a perspective thing, isn't it?
My weather
Yeah,
sucks. I'll tell you
yeah,
that I live
yeah.
outside of Seattle in the US, and it's supposed to be like rainy and cloudy a lot here, and it is. That's my
Yeah.
my take. But how is it over there? I've never been to Leeds.
Yeah, I mean it's the north of England, so it's obviously the north. The further north you go, the more extreme the weather's, right? So at the minute we had like 10 weeks without rain, which is like the craziest thing ever for
Oh,
like the
wow.
UK anyway. I think it was like the driest month in like 100 years or something. So we've had like amazing weather,
Oh, that's
but of
crazy.
course it doesn't last long. So we're having that kind of wind and rain and stuff. But yeah, north of England's pretty windy, pretty rainy, cold winters. But there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just the wrong clothing choice, isn't
I like that. I'm going to take
it?
that. That's good to go. So you said you're in a small town. Do you have any kind of idea what the population is in your area, the population that you service and might actually be interested in your gym?
That's a really good question. I feel like I should know that. Considering to be honest, because it's quite a small place, it's not necessarily even the place that I was wanting to open the gym in. It wasn't like a
Okay.
first choice. It was more like the opportunity came up to have the space, and I was like, well, wherever it is, we'll make it work. So obviously Leeds itself is, what, the fourth biggest city in the UK. It's a big city. And where it is literally just on the outside. So
Okay.
lots of our members come from kind of the sort of general areas around the city centre anyway. So it's never too much of a problem in terms of just serving that one area called Garforth. It's people will travel as long as we're like 15, 20 minutes away. You can be in the city centre in 15 minutes from Garforth. It's one train stop away from the city centre.
What made you want to open a gym in the first place?
Well, I've had gyms before this one as well. I guess my whole life I've been into fitness on some level, different types of sports. I'm one of those, which is why, kind of like the varied, not random concept is one that really aligns with me anyway, because I've always believed in like being a specialist at being a generalist.
Hmm.
Like, I love the idea. I've never really, I've done sports to a decent level and I've got to a certain level. I'm like, this is cool, but there's all these other things, and I feel like I want to do all these different things. So I've tried lots of different sports. And I'd say the gym wouldn't necessarily been my option really in a lot of ways because I've always liked outdoor sports as well, like
Okay.
kayaking and hiking and fell running, which is basically, kind of fell running. If in the UK, fells are like mountains and hills and stuff around Yorkshire.
Mm.
And so a lot of my stuff, my background really has come from obstacle course racing, like Spartans and things like that. And that's when I kind of started to find out more about CrossFit and things like that. And then that's when I got obviously started to use the gym as a bit of a tool to train for the sports that I liked. So I did some strength and conditioning when I was younger, but I never loved it. But then and also being into martial arts is the other thing. I've taught martial arts a long time. So I wanted to open a dojo, I guess, for martial
Okay.
arts. But in reality, what I found was that's a lot harder to fill. And there's always fitness elements with the martial arts side you needed anyway. And I found that those classes became bigger anyway, and people were
Mm.
interested in martial arts, but not necessarily to fight or be amazing at it. They just wanted it for health and fitness. So then I was like, well, there's so many functional movements that cross over into the gym space anyway. So in the end, I was like, I think I want to do both in some sort of space. So I had when I was actually in Manchester. I got married and started a gym in Manchester. But because complications with that, I was like renting from her father and things like that. Got super complicated. So in the end, I
Mm.
was like, "Do you know what? It's better just to kind of call it a day." I
Hmm.
moved back to Leeds, and then the idea being I'll open a gym straight away, but because of the current climate at the time, it was just wasn't a good time to open. So I started working for a gym chain just temporarily, which turned into me being promoted right up to a level where I was managing 20 to 30 different gyms across the UK and in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's only really when I got there and I was earning a really good salary. I was traveling into Italy and Spain and managing lots of different clubs in the UK as well. They'd put me into regions that were struggling so I could then help those clubs improve and things like that. But it's then when I sat, amongst those kind of corporate board members and those, and I was like, this isn't the place for me. I can do well here and I can earn a good salary, but it isn't what I want. And it really made me feel it's time to start a value driven business again. And obviously, my passion during all of that, I was still studying textbooks and doing fitness courses. And, I was doing
Mm.
stuff like in the States, NASAM courses and things like that. So I was like, right, let's just get back to what I love. And that's when, obviously, during the lockdown, I started to really think about, like many people, like it's time to start my gym again and start getting back into that.
Fascinating. That's an interesting background for you. And I talk to a lot of gym owners, and so it's always cool when I hear somebody that has a bit of a different path. Because with the traditional gym, CrossFit style gym is, so antithetical to the regular commercial space, right? Where the commercial space wants to have a ton of members, but they don't really want them to show up every day. They just want to have a ton of members that are paying each month. Whereas
Absolutely.
the other gym, like you're running now, has a high level of service, for the members, and we want you to show up. I mean, they're just two very different spectrums here. And, I generally interview CrossFit gym owners that have similar things to say about what'll make a good business or if the business is struggling, where they'll try to focus, etc. But you've seen the other side where you were brought in on these large commercial chain gyms that you said were hurting in one way, shape, or form, and you were brought in to, get them into a good positive revenue or whatever again, get them back on their feet. In that landscape, what were things that you would do in that scenario to get commercial gyms that were struggling back in line? What were those techniques like?
Well, I guess a lot of it, like anything really, was either like a culture issue in terms of the staff members,
Oh, interesting.
and then
Okay.
it's about talking to people about what's the culture like within that business, and the leaders within the individual gym chains, whether that's like your facilities manager or your general manager, how they were even kind of using their budgets, um,
So
and
is
then of
there actually
course.
maybe more transference than I realize?
Oh, 100%. It was for
Okay.
me. It's quite funny in the end because in reality, it's exactly what I needed before I went back into making my own businesses because I made my own mistakes in the
Fascinating.
first place. Then I saw what other people that were really successful did, but realized that also wasn't. All the skills were transferable. Managing people, managing large budgets. I manage multiple like capital budgets, so full budgets for refurbs of gyms, so large amounts of money. Um, yeah, and then the facilities within that and all the HVAC systems and things like that. So very transferable, but also really
Hmm.
interesting because transferable skills, but also making me realize that's not like you say. The reason why I stepped away from that was because I got into that and I kind of was passionate about that because I was like, well, even though I'm not in my own gym, I can make a difference to all the members and I have a place that I can work out. And they're really high level. They're more like country club style gyms. So
I
really,
see. Okay.
like
Like
full
a
leisure
top
suites
tier
with
kind of a thing.
yeah, exactly. In the UK, probably the highest chain for that. So yeah, spa retreats and pools and gyms and boutique studios and tennis courts
Right.
and huge like floor spaces, floor plans. But at the same time, as hard as I tried to make it about the member and value for the member, of course, in that type of business, when you have owners and conglomerates that own that business, it's not always like that. So I found that I was constantly feeling like I was getting traction and we were going to start to make the improvements I wanted. but then it never came. So I was like, right, I need to get back to where I can make a direct decision that will impact my members immediately. And it will be, again, a value-led business, which means that people will understand our values and, behind that, things like integrity and,
Mm.
transparency and all these types of things. Yeah.
So how long has your current gym been open?
So we got the keys to this gym in December. So what are we now, 25? So December 23.
Okay.
So we to start with, I thought I was going to just do an online business because I was like, do you know what? It's so expensive to have a gym. Everyone's going online, and the business part of my brain was like, it's just so much easier. But in reality, when we launched that, and it did okay, we were just me and my partner who run this business. We're just I just like being in front of people, and it didn't work for me being online. I just love
Hmm.
interacting with people. I love talking to people. I'm quite a tactile person, so even just the pat on the back and the fist bump means is like everything to me on a daily basis. I love it. Um, so then we were like, right, let's find somewhere, and it just so happened that we had somewhere set, which we got let down with last minute. And one of my friends had a gym, and he was barely in there because he does a lot of online stuff. So in the end, he was like, well, you can use it till you find somewhere because we had members already booked and paying, and we got let down by another pharmacist. And of course, in the end, he was like, "Hold on a second, you can pay a large portion of my rent. I'm not in there. You can have it." So it's just one. That's why I went to Garforth, and I was like, "This is like the universe is like dropped a huge." Basically a huge gym, functional, like just like your box fit, your CrossFit kind of
Mm.
box space, like right on our laps, and also an integrated like rental system. Pay nothing
Oh,
first
yeah.
month. So it was meant to be really.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's say somebody, like you said, maybe Leeds is a bit off the map for most people. They haven't been there, but let's say, people traveling around, they're checking it out. They're gonna pop into your gym. They've never been there before. Give us a sense of like what's your gym like? What's the culture? What's the vibe? Older demographic, younger demographic? Is it competitive? Is it, just give us a sense of what it's all about.
Yeah, well, I guess the it's definitely a community first gym. So the idea being that, like you said, it's about having people in, them feeling like they have massive amounts of value and want to come. They want to come for the workouts. They want to come for the friendship. They want to come for the support. They want to come for the social aspects that we add in outside of the gym time as well. So I'd say that's the biggest thing that I want people to do. I always say if people come through the door and they're the right person, the right sort of type of person, they'll want to stay straight away. You don't need to really sell it. So I'd say that initially that would be it, welcoming, friendly. Certainly we have a competitive element, but that's not in the forefront. It's more
Mm.
anyone can come, every workout can be adapted. That we and because I have extra qualifications like exercise referral, so doctors can refer in and things like that. And
Okay.
I've got kind of rehab background and stuff as well. So we can adapt something for you no matter what. And then I'd say our second main focus really would be more about then longevity. So our demographics a little bit older. I'm 44, and I'd say most of our demographic are 35 plus probably. So people that are kind of got to that point in their life, they've got kids, they've got a career, they're probably starting to lose that work-life balance, and they've
Mm.
realized the importance of maybe seeing their grandkids and having that healthy life. So a lot of that type of person. So we have some younger people, but I would say that's definitely so a lot of our stuff, Peter Attia?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of our stuff is based around his idea from his book of Medicine 3.0, this idea of being the people that prevent people needing to go into the healthcare system. So health and fitness that lasts a lifetime, lifestyle changes rather than, the quick fixes, which unfortunately is so popular in this day and age, 12-week transformations and things like that.
Oh man, I mean, if it was only that easy. I mean,
Yeah, so
I deal with it all the time, but at the end of the day, some things just require hard work and sacrifice.
yep,
You know,
definitely.
probably always will be that way. I'm curious, especially in a smaller town or smaller community, most gym owners are looking to grow their community. What have you found works to get members in the door and grow your business?
Well, I'd say number one, and I've always found this, no matter what I've done, really, is if like organic growth has been a big one for us. So referrals. And again, my mentality is always like, whoever I'm in front of, I want to make their life that little bit better, even if it's a small thing. Make them smile once or twice. Come away feeling they feel better about themselves when they started the conversation with me. So I do believe that, organically, when I'm putting that out with the people and the other communities I interact with, a lot of those people then come to me afterwards. I don't need to
Mm.
sell to them. It might just be they know what I do, they meet me, they find out from someone else that enjoyed it. And then 6 months later, they're like, oh, actually, I've been thinking about PT. Do you think you could come and do some PT, or do you think I can come and do some group sessions? Because I'm in a few other communities. I coach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. That's a large school that I coach in, 560 people.
Oh,
So I get
wow.
quite a lot of, yeah, I get quite a lot of people from that community, obviously. And with the sport element, I've got MMA conditioning background as well for, training people. So people will come and do combat conditioning, things like that with me as well. And then locally, really, it's just super simple. Apart from the odd poster in, the local shops and bits and pieces like that, it's just local social media. Just, I have someone that just I pay every few months. I pay him a few £100s, some Facebook ads, some Instagram ads, bits and pieces. That usually brings in quite a large group, and of course, most of those people are just interested, but not really.
Sure.
And then you get a few that are real, gems that come in, walk through the door, and like, this is awesome. They get on with everyone. And of course, they're there, then they're into the community. And then we have lots of little groups within our main group. So, we might have the fitness racing team that goes off and does sports events, or we might
Mm.
have the walking club. We do a wild swimming and sauna group. We do all these different groups and nutrition groups and stuff.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
people can dip in and out of all these different groups depending on what they want from the gym.
And that keeps them engaged.
Yeah, so we'll go wild swimming and go to a sauna once a month, especially in the winter when it's really cold. So cold dips into like wood-fired saunas.
Wow.
We in the summer we go on like walking groups and we do different like monthly walks and plan different routes and things like that. So again, it's about having people, isn't it, together. The longer they're together, the more they kind of, especially if you're driving the culture. You did a podcast on this actually about, how much do you regulate culture in a gym? I don't know if you remember that one that you did, but we talked about,
Vaguely.
do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
tell people off maybe for taking their shirts off?
Oh, right.
Do you stop people having relationships? Do you remember there was like lots of
Right.
different
Yeah,
ones we talked about?
yeah.
And I was listening to that one, I was thinking, I think it's you don't try and like you don't try and control a culture or a community, but as a leader, you should be trying to guide it in the right directions. So,
Good word. Yeah.
um, so I try and do that within these groups. Then obviously people can, and of course, if they're all walking together for 3 hours, they're building relationships. And of course, then they go
100%.
to the gym not just for us, not just for the workout, because they want to go and see their mate and work out
Yes.
together.
That's cool. And then you're actually building a true community. Yeah. I mean, that builds coherence and adhesion, and then they show up more regularly. And if they show up more regularly, the workouts get to actually work, and then they get to see the results. And it's this beautiful cycle of just going round and
100%.
round.
Yep,
Uh, you
exactly.
know, you got a lot going on between the gym and the martial arts, all these groups. Gym owners are busy, shocker. Um, why why BTWB for your business?
Well, it started out actually, BTWB started just for me.
Mm,
Because of course I spend most of my time putting together some sort of program, whether it's in for an individual, whether it's planning for coaching jiu-jitsu outside. I have a lot of other hobbies. I have two kids and my wife as well, and I always like to be studying and learning new courses and upskilling all the time. The idea again is I want people to keep catching me up, so I have to keep progressing.
mm,
Um, so BTWB to start with, I was looking for something that could program me really good quality programs. And as you will most likely know, there's a lot of rubbish out there. Um, and I've always followed CrossFit. Although I've never been an affiliate, I've always been a big fan of CrossFit, their ethos. Obviously known lots of people that have trained within different CrossFit ones in the UK. And so I've of course following the games and all the different athletes. I'm a big tier Toomey fan as well.
mm.
And of course I was really lucky. I went to go see the Rogue Invitational with Mo and the BTW.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, I looked around a few, and of course there's a few different athletes that have all got apps that they offer different things on. So I looked at a few different ones, but BTWB just worked really well for me.
Very
Um,
cool.
So I used that for a while for myself, and then I was like, actually, I didn't realize there's the planning in the background. So I messaged someone. I was like, oh, what can I
Right.
plan programs for my clients? And they see what I see as a user, and they're like, 100%. I had no idea. So then I was like, oh, that's cool. Right, so I'll do a trial. And then, of course, I tried it on a couple of my like regulars that I've been using for a long time. And it just worked so well with clients. So, yeah, so basically it started off as just a personal training tool to deliver programs. They can log their progress, somewhere to log it all instead of on a Google
Mm.
spreadsheet or on a, a document or something. It's all in one place. They can see it when they're off doing their own workouts as well, because we have open gym sessions. They can look on their PBs and stuff. And then, of course, January this year, yeah, they launched obviously in the UK the full package.
Hmm. The old
I
all
was using
hands.
another provider, so I was really resistant to start with when I spoke to Mo about it. I was like, I've got a provider. They're really good for like my budgeting and for my reporting and for the member bookings. It's a really slick system. And of course, as you will well know with Mo, he's just like, don't you worry,
Oh
we'll
yeah.
sort you out. So he said, ask me as many questions as you like, and I'll tell you, And I just went and said, this is all the things I love about this other user. And he was like, we do all that.
Oh,
However, we
cool.
also do this. And we're always making these little changes. So if you want to change, you
Always
let us know.
making improvement.
Yeah. So,
Always.
yeah. So it was just a no-brainer in the end. And of course, it brought everything into one app instead of two apps. Um, all of the billing into one, two
Hmm.
costs. And yeah, so far so good. It's been really good. And of course, it took a little while to onboard everyone. But again, once everyone's been onboarded, everyone's using it. I did an S&C class with them yesterday. I put the program on the app, I put it on the board just so it's bigger and they can see it, and left them running it. And of course, they're all at the end like, oh, I've just hit, this
Oh,
many
that's
meters road.
cool.
It's just things like,
That's
it's so good.
cool.
And, we're all big kids, so it's gamified, right, as well. That's why it's
Right.
great. So we're all big kids. As soon as you get a PB or a little celebration or like a little badge, it's so
100%.
ridiculous when you say it out loud, but in reality, it
100%.
works.
You're right.
It works.
I mean, and if it helps keep people fired up and motivated, it's
Yeah.
it's a good thing. So, let people know maybe they're traveling to your area, self-promote. Like, what's your website? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have, how can people find you, track you, get in contact with you, do a drop-in if they're in the area? What's all your information?
Well, we're anyone who's kind of obviously Leeds based. We're Fit to Thrive coaching. I have a well-being business as well, which runs alongside it for delivering corporate wellness inside businesses. So we have our Fit to Thrive coaching, which is the gym, and Fit to Thrive Wellbeing, which is our corporate wellness business. Um, it's just a same Instagram, Fit to Thrive Coaching, YouTube, Fit to Thrive Coaching. Any of those, if you put in Fit with a two Thrive Coaching, you'll find us online.
Very cool. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you telling me a bit about your personal backstory and your gym as well. And if I find myself in your neck of the woods, I'll have to pop in for a session.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. And just want to say thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to share the podcast space with you, Pat, as I've listened to your voice a lot. So it's nice to be the person on the other end of the camera.
The pleasure is all mine, and enjoy the rest of your evening over there.
And you. All right. Take care.